Welcome back to the break room. Welcome back to the break room. This is very impromptu, this that I'm shooting right now, but I had some thoughts to get off my chest, to get off my brain, and I want to express myself. So here I am. First and foremost, before I get into dark, heavy subject matter, I want to just go on a lighter note and address a few things. Like, for instance, we just had our Super Bowl week this past Sunday. The Seattle Seahawks beat the New England Patriots. I gotta be honest with you, I didn't even watch the game. I gotta be honest with you, I haven't really watched NFL, just the whole Kaepernick situation. I've been disillusioned, just disgusted with the league and how they conspired against Kaepernick. So I haven't watched. Now, I will say it's been convenient because in the last couple of years, my New York Giants, have been terrible in that time span. So, it's good timing on my behalf to step back from the league. But yeah, I don't really watch games anymore. I'll keep up with with the NFC East division because, like I said, I'm a Giants fan. And, the Eagles have won the last few years. So, fuck that. But no, I haven't really been watching football like that, American football. So, whoop-de-doo, the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. But the reason why I mentioned this Super Bowl is because Bad Bunny performed. He performed this past Sunday at the halftime show. I didn't see it live. I didn't catch the actual performance live. I caught it pretty much a day later. I saw clips that night, but I caught it in full a day later. A day later. I just want to say in short that it was a hell of a performance. From the hurricanes to the little inflections and interjections of Puerto Rican culture, Latino culture, how he represented for all of the Americas, of this Western Hemisphere. I thought it was poignant. I thought it was creative. I thought it was theater. I thought it was art. And I think that Benito, Bad Bunny, I think he killed it. He nailed it. Bad Bunny showed why he is the biggest pop star on the planet right now, why he is pretty much dictating culture, or at least dictating his culture to the masses and doing it unapologetically. I felt like he was able to express himself with no remorse, no fear, just jubilation and pride. Him with that Puerto Rican flag on his arm or on his over his shoulder in his hands, I think that was powerful. Him representing all the Latino countries was powerful. It spread a message of positivity and unity of all the Americas. And I gotta say, it's crazy how we live in a nation in the USA where we are not we. When I say we, I don't mean me. I don't mean me, but you see these super conservative right wing folks who are just like, chastising him for even being a person that was selected to perform at the Super Bowl with this whole idea of like he was, undignified and not worthy. Where it's like, what is worthy, and who can perform? You know what I'm saying? The Who, Rolling Stones, so many foreign people, Brianna, so many people from a foreign nation have performed before. Now, a lot of people have said, oh well, and not just right wing conservative people, but like a whole spectrum of people have said, oh well, it's gonna be in Spanish, this is America, we speak English. It's like, first of all, English is really not even our language. It's England's language, okay? We, and again, not me when I say we, but our forefathers, the pilgrims, they brought that language over here when they fled England. And they also brought over a lot of drama. And we live in a legacy of the USA of just like stolen goods, stolen lands, stolen cultures. So, when something is created in an original sin, it's hard to wag your finger and dictate to others how they should respond to that sin, how they should emerge from that sin, um, how they should progress through that sin or those sins. You know what I'm saying? Because Puerto Rico has been dealt a bad hand for a while now, for decades, if not centuries. From the Jones Act, just the way the island has been bastardized and taken advantage of through tax loopholes. People like Jake Paul, of all people, have the nerve to say that Bad Bunny is a fake American. What makes him a fake American, Jake Paul, but you a real American? Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens through colonization, through us having them as a colony. Again, when I say we, I don't mean me. I mean them. But I digress. I think that, like I said, I think Bad Bunny killed it. I think that he proved that he belongs in culture and American culture, that he is American culture, and that it's okay to embrace something different, something not of the norm. But what is normal? Conversation about what is supposed to be normal in today's standards, as far as pop culture or music or art. But I enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I had a great time. I was able I'm still downloading the performance and really decoding different things from it. So it'll be one of those performances that stay with me for a while. Um, but yeah, other than that, I want to get into the news of James Van Der Beek, famed actor from Dawson's Creek fame, among other things. Also, in started a great football movie that I enjoyed growing up called Varsity Blues. But really, his bread and butter was Dawson's Creek, and he recently passed away. He passed away yesterday, Thursday, February what was it 11th, and he was battling for a while colorectal cancer, colon cancer, and this hits near and dear to me because I'll get to that later. But first, let me just go over my personal, how do I say this? My personal connection with James Van Der Beek. And what I mean by that is, as a man in his 40s, a millennial in his 40s, I just turned 40 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I grew up in the WB era, Wayne's Brothers, whew, Dawson's Creek, Felicity. The WB was a program, and now it's called the CW, I guess, where they play a lot of DC content, DC comic book content. But yeah, the WB in its heyday was a rather new network in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, where they were offering content that was a little either at times comedically racy, or they had a lot of teen dramas that would catch success. Like I said, Dawson's Creek was one, so was Felicity. And it really caught teenagers and adolescents to watch, to view, and to connect to. And yes, I was one of those dudes who was watching Dawson's Creek. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was a Dawson's Creek fan. And I'm talking from jump. I'm talking live, like from the initial first episode throughout the whole seasons. I kind of fell off like towards the end, but I got back on it and I made sure. And, recently actually, I just actually did a rewatch because shout out to paying all this money on streaming services. They got to be good for something. So on Disney Plus, I have recently rewatched Dawson's Creek and Felicity actually. But regardless, I'm someone who watched Dawson's Creek live in its first iteration, and I always enjoyed it. I enjoyed Dawson, the main character who's played by James Van Der Beek. I always enjoyed his story because he's a cinephile like me. He's a young man who loves films, but decode films and really break it down. He was also a director. That was his passion, his lifelong passion in the show was to be a director. That's not really me. I've always been more of a music person creatively, but still, I could see the idea of wanting to shoot film, wanting to create stories and tell stories through film. And Dawson in the show played a young man who was doing that and pursuing that, and alongside he had best friends and Pacey and Joey and all these array of characters who were just going through their own adolescence of different topics. It included, identity, finding out your sexual identity and preference, finding out how to love, self-love, how to understand your parents' marriage and what they're going through, and just so many things that a teenage kid can go through maybe, but don't really publicize or really know how to express. Dawson's Creek was about a show where these characters were going through these trials and tribulations. And for me, as someone who in 1998 was in seventh, eighth grade, it was groundbreaking. It was dope. It was great to see. And I didn't take it for granted. I didn't. I was always entertained by it. In fact, some of my favorite moments of Dawson's Creek, now that I'm thinking about it, one where the father, I forgot his name, was it John? I think it was John. When the father finds out that his wife, Dawson's mom, was cheating on him, having an affair, and that was probably one of the first times you could see in my childhood, man, a husband having to be vulnerable about heartbreak. But yeah, that was an episode where you that was the first time I really saw a man having to be vulnerable on screen. I don't know the first time, but a poignant time of a man having to be like vulnerable on screen. And he was hurt and he had to bear himself. And then you see Dawson as a son having to watch his father, his hero, go through that. And how did he connect to it? And how did he reckon with it? And I think we all have been through similar situations where our parents we find out they're imperfect people, that they don't have it all figured out. that they are fallible, that they are human. And stories like that resonated with me particularly. I would also say just various stories. Even the whole idea of just Dawson having to reckon with the idea that his true quote unquote love and Joey loved someone else more than him. And how did he had to reckon with that? How did he have to maneuver those feelings and that heartache? That was definitely another time in the show where you really saw James's one, his acting prowess. He was a damn good actor. And you also just saw the range. And you also saw how he was able as a young man to transfer that writing onto the screen with action. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I will say there's various more I can try to like down the line think about and mention, but right now it's just too much. There's too many episodes. With that being said, when I heard about him having cancer, whenever you hear that cancer word, whenever you hear the C word, it's just like, oh man, it's such a powerful word and situation to be around, a part of. Uh, to anybody out there who's ever lost somebody from cancer, you know what I mean? I've lost people to cancer, but I've definitely lost people to disease in general. My aunt died of lupus. My grandmother died of AIDS. And we're talking like 1996 AIDS, where there was no Magic Johnson magical medicine, not for us regular folks. That era, if you got AIDS, that was it. It was a death sentence. Yeah. And mind you, she got it from a blood transfusion. So that was like really like dark and cruel of a joke. But yeah, cancer is terrible. Cancer is literally a evil grim reaper that comes for so many of us. And when you hear that word, you're hopeful that you can defy it or overcome it. And there's been studies lately, apparently, where more and more people are living with cancer and not succumbing to it. But for James Van Der Beek, this was colorectal cancer, colon cancer, and that's on the rise with young folks, people in their 40s, even late 30s. And I think it's a leading cause of death lately with the cancers, either that or pancreatic cancer. And pancreatic cancer is another one that's just evil. But anyway, yeah, James, when he was diagnosed, or when he was I don't know. I don't remember when he was diagnosed, but I do remember when it started to be more and more prevalent in the news that he had it and that he was living with it. I was hopeful that, he would just, live with it, live through it, get better, and hopefully heal up. And you would see him in the media ever so often looking skinnier and skinnier, more frail. But still, I kind of felt like, okay, well, if he's being shown on camera, if he's doing an interview on Good Morning America or some CBS News in the morning, maybe he's feeling better and getting better. But at the same time, someone who's a hip hop fan and a fan of hip hop podcasts, back in 2017, we lost Reggie Osei, also known as Combat Jack, to colon cancer. If you're a MCU, Marvel Comics Universe, I'm sorry, Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, and you watch Black Panther and you enjoy Black Panther with Chadwick Boseman, then you would know that, he succumbed to colon cancer at a young age. I think he was 43. I'm 41 this November. And I guess he had colon cancer while filming, you know, Black Panther and all these other films he did late in his career before he passed away, which speaks to his courage and his strength through those times. Regardless, though, this colon cancer, this colorectal cancer, it's on the rise and it's scary. And it's scary not just as someone who is just viewing this, but actually on a personal note. And I say that because I'm someone in 2022. In 2022, I had a colonoscopy. And the reason why I had one was because back in 2021, fall, winter 2021, I noticed my bowels were different. My bowel movement was different. I was more constipated. My stool just looked thinner, felt thinner. It felt harder to get it out. And you know your body. You know your body. Everybody knows their body. They know, you know, they know when they got discharged, what they ate and how it should be, and the time of the day even. You know your body like clockwork. And for me, I just started noticing these trends or this shift in the trend. And I realized, something's not right. No, I didn't see blood in my stool. I did not see blood in my stool. Some of the symptoms I didn't really see, but I just knew something was different. And there's got to be some kind of blockage. So I pushed for a colonoscopy, and I pushed even though the recommending doctor at first didn't want to recommend me. My original colonoscopy doctor, he did not want to recommend me. He was saying like, "Oh, you're too young. You know, this is 2022." I'm like, I'm like going on 37 that year. Yeah, I turned 37 later on that fall. But this is like springtime, so I'm 36 pretty much. Um, and I'm pushing, no pun intended, but I'm pushing. Yeah, 37. Well, yeah. Um, I'm pushing. I'm pushing, and I'm pushing for it. And finally, I got approved. And that June of 2022, I had a colonoscopy. And it was, and just so you know, fellas, it was, shout out to anesthesia. And they knocked me out fast. And when I woke up, I won't say his name, but my attending MD, he had told me, he was like, "Hey, we should talk." And I'm like, "Why?" He was like, "It's a good thing you did this. I would have recommended you initially. I would have recommended you, but I'm glad you did this." I'm like, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, you had an adenoma polyp. You had the impression is you had one 4 millimeter polyp in your ascending colon. And adenoma means it would have turned cancerous. So we removed it with a jumbo cold forceps. We resected and retrieved it. It wasn't bleeding, but it was an adenoma polyp, and we removed it with a forceps. And if it stayed, if you ignored it and it stayed, it would have killed you. So he told me basically that he was happy that I pushed for it, that I pushed for the colonoscopy. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. Fellas, like I said, it wasn't invasive. They knock you out. What's probably annoying was the preparation for it prior. They make you drink the solution that's supposed to clean out your system. That's annoying. It's supposed to make you go. But no, I was able to do it. I was able to successfully have a colonoscopy, successfully found an adenoma polyp. And yeah, I was able to, I guess, for the momentary time, save my life. They told me to come back in 5 years, and that was 2022. Next year, 2027, I got to go back. But shoot, I want to go back now. To be honest, it's just in case. But yeah, I did it. I did it. And it was, like I said, it was quick. It was easy. It was nothing to it. And I think it's important for men out there, all men listening, watching this, to go and get it done. Go and get it done, because you could be saving your own life just by early screening, just by checking yourself out, cleaning yourself out. Now, I have to admit, I could be doing much more for my health, for prevention purposes, taking in a higher fiber diet, making sure I'm on a consistent workout, consistent nutrition schedule. There's a lot I could and should be doing to help myself in the process. At the very least, I will be continuing my colonoscopies and just trying to take in that fiber, And I think it's important that we all just recognize that, someone like James Van Der Beek, who's on a syndicated network show that was of some type of stature or fame, maybe fame more than stature, but someone of note, someone that's recognizable. If he couldn't get the proper health care, because apparently he had to sell off memorabilia, he had to scrap for pennies just to pay healthcare costs. His castmates from his old shows had to like do fundraisers. If he had struggles, imagine us, the average Joe. So it's important that we don't take for granted our health, our ability to screen ourselves or get screened by professionals, and also the ability to just like advocate for ourselves. I think now more than ever, I'm not taking my life for granted. I don't want to. Of course, that's easier said than done. Like I said, I need to do better with my health. But I have three children, two of them underage, a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old. The 3-year-old's on the spectrum. So the 3-year-old needs me for the rest of my life, the rest of her life. She needs me. You know, I need to do my best to be there for her for as long as I can, because I owe that to her. And if that means having a forceps go up my ass, oh well. Like, come on, fellas, like, get over it. You know what I'm saying? I think ego and this idea of manhood holds us back from just living. Not even just like by our mortality, but even through our happiness and joy, we kind of hold ourselves back by just, thinking too much about what manhood is. Manhood to me is staying alive. You know what I'm saying? To be a man is the first you have to be alive to be a man. What's the point of protecting manhood if you're not around to see it and you're not around to enjoy your kids? You know what I'm saying? So, for James, rest in peace, brother. Rest in peace. 6 kids and a wife, but he can't be there for no more. That's gotta suck. That's gotta be a tragedy, And I don't want that for my kids. I don't want my kids to grow up without me. I want my kids to know that I'm there for them. But that means I gotta do the work. And I gotta at the very least not get in my own head about my health, not avoid certain conversations, hard conversations with my doctor or my medical team. So I challenge myself and I challenge you to honor James Van Der Beek, honor so many others who have lost their lives to to cancer. Go get checked. Go get screened. And hopefully we save each other. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. So this is very short, honestly. It's under 25 minutes, but just want to keep it short. Other than that, happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. But yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just real concerned about all of us. But yeah, anyway, till next time, y'all.